that came together for the one.
Well, the event was actually planned as an open house for solar. We were trying to promote solar, but we changed it to a solar rally quickly because we were not allowed to promote solar anymore because we're not allowed to install solar, which means our jobs, our companies effectively shut out of doing its business.
And I guess tell me a bit about what's so unfair about this. They announced this program 2 years ago. You thought you were going to have it until 2020, so it was, but they hit the cap. But that doesn't mean that necessarily that you shouldn't be able to use solar. Can you talk a bit about why it's unfair that, regardless of whether or not people are getting credits or rebates, it's unfair for you guys that they've shut down this program?
Right. So the program was a 3-year program, and it did reach its cap earlier than expected, which is fine, and everyone understands that if the money runs out, the program might end. But in addition to ending the rebate program, they've also ended the actual ability to connect to the grid. So they've ended the ability to do net metering. So that was a shock to the industry. That was announced on a conference call Wednesday. And then Thursday morning, the word came out that the rebate was done and the net metering program was done. So not only is the rebate gone, but even without a rebate, you're still not allowed to connect to the grid, which means all of these businesses are effectively not able to do what they do.
Knowing that the program
Yeah, I mean, to me it's ironic that the unprecedented demand for the program is what caused it to shut down early. So it's the demand has showed that people of Saskatchewan want it, and it's been shut down. And I think it's important to realize that the people of Saskatchewan own the utility. They own SaskPower. So if they're saying they want it, it doesn't make sense to me that it's being shut down.
And what's at stake here? I mean, the other day said there's over 50 solar companies, hundreds of jobs potentially. Can you even go through, and we were talking earlier about how SaskPower kind of said off the record, oh, it's just electricians, they can find jobs elsewhere. Like, it's not just electricians, it's specialized tradespeople, it's customer service people, it's salespeople. So who's at risk of losing jobs here, and how many jobs could go away, and how fast can they go away?
Right, yeah, there's a lot of different people that could lose their jobs, and unfortunately people will start to be laid off soon. I expect it is over 500 people eventually. In our industry, there's a sales lead and sales cycle, so initially I would expect salespeople will be the first to be laid off. Then you've also got project managers, you've got installers, which are typically electricians, not always. You have some laborers as well. So those people will start being laid off soon once the jobs run out for the companies. There's office staff, there's admin, bookkeeping, accounting. This event was supposed to be sort of a grand opening for our new office here that we moved into 6 months ago. So if we have to shut down our business here, we've got a lease, we've got long-term marketing plans in place for billboards, radio ads. All of that is out the window. And on the actual installer side, yeah, most of them are electricians, but it's a pretty specialized skill set within electrical work, solar and photovoltaic systems. You don't learn maybe too much about that in your training. So there's a lot of training that happens on the job, and a lot of that, the skills that have been built up over the last few years, a lot of that could be lost, and we'd be starting from scratch again. Well, in a perfect world, right now, short term, we would like to see at least net metering reinstated, even if it's without the rebate. That would at least allow us the ability to still do our jobs. And the economics might be a little less beneficial for the homeowners or business owners, but we could still do our jobs. It would be a little harder, but we could still do it. So that's what we'd ask for short term. Long term, we'd ask for a program to be developed with input from the industry, as opposed to being done in a bubble and just the industry being told at the last second. And we'd like something that's long term. The similar thing happened last year on November 30th. The previous net metering program was going to come to an end. That was basically, I think it was relaunched a few days before November 30th. So there was a mad rush until November 30th because everyone thought the program was going to end. Then they reinstated it within a few days before it was supposed to end. So twice in a row, 2 years in a row, there's been a lack of foresight and a lack of planning. And on Wednesday, on the conference call with the industry, the SaskPower spokesperson said that they expected the consultation for the new program to take approximately 7 months. So it's hard to plan your business around hopefully being able to do your business in 7 months, when 7 months can turn into more months. And so we just like more consultation with the industry and a longer term program so we can run sustainable businesses and not on and off again businesses. That's happened in places like Ontario, where their government came in and said, we're going to review the program, shut it down. They shut it down. All the companies basically closed up. We had 2 offices there back in 2010 and 11. We closed those both down because we can't operate a business where it's on again, off again, and the government comes in and says you're not allowed to do your job.
And when this most recent net metering program launched with the rebate and credits, was there any indication at that time that when the rebate cap was hit, that the net metering itself would be shut down and closed as well?
No, not at all. So there was no advance notice given that the actual net metering and the ability to connect to the grid would be shut down. We as an industry learned that on Wednesday of this week. On Thursday it was shut down. Today is Saturday. So this has happened so fast. Literally, I don't think anybody in our industry had any concept or idea that this would be shut down. It's really unheard of for a jurisdiction to not even allow you to connect to the grid. I can't think of another one in the Western world where you're not allowed to connect to the grid. Sure, not everywhere has rebates, that's fine, and they may pay you different amounts for the energy export, perhaps a lower rate than retail rate, but I don't know of anywhere else where you're not allowed to connect to the grid. It's a very, it's an anomaly. It's not something anyone really had predicted would happen.
What does it say to you that this program was so successful?
Well, it clearly states that people love solar. People want to take back the power. They want to be part of the solution with climate change, not part of the problem. And it's a little thing you can do on your house. It gives people a sense of energy independence as well. Frankly, it's pretty cool to look at your electrical bill and see how much energy you produced on your roof. So it's taking back power, and it's something people are interested in, and we have very little of it here. We're far behind the rest of the world. And yes, we're in Canada, we do have cold winters and snow, but we're one of the best places in the world to put in solar. So that's not a reason at all. A system here will produce more power than in most places in the world. So that's not an excuse, that's not a reason why it works here amazingly well, and people want to do it. And all we need to do is engage with SaskPower and have a regulatory regime that is sustainable and works for the industry and gives people what they want. People want solar. People love solar. So I don't know why SaskPower is trying to take that away.
And what do you make of their arguments that it's expensive and unfair to other SaskPower subscribers, and saying they have to subsidize this program for people like US solar panels, and that's why they have to go and review it? What do you make of that argument?
The argument about the subsidy, there were some numbers put out this week by SaskPower saying how much money it would cost them. I have no idea where those numbers came from, and talking with the other industry partners, I don't think anyone else has any idea where they come from. So I don't know if it does cost them money or not. One fact is, if somebody puts a solar system on their farm or on their house, they're putting in a small power plant for free. So SaskPower is not paying to build that infrastructure. The typical SaskPower model of building large utility scale power plants, they pay for that power plant. So I don't know if they've weighed in the fact that they're saving the cost of actually putting in the power plant. There are also other benefits. Distributed energy has been widely proven in many studies to provide grid resiliency, to potentially at a large enough scale, we're not there yet, but at a larger scale, it can actually reduce the upgrade costs for the distribution and transmission systems, which is huge savings for the utility. So I don't know if they factored that in. So there's a lot of benefits with distributed energy that I just don't think were factored into the calculation that it's costing them a lot of money.
And they're also saying, we think solar is a good idea, but we want to build these huge, more efficient solar plants. But whether or not more efficient is the case, it's not something that might necessarily benefit Saskatchewan companies. Just talk about that's the case.
Sure. So SaskPower has said they're going to procure 60 megawatts of solar projects by 10 megawatt projects. They've tendered one of those projects. It was won by Saturn Power out of Ontario, and I believe that's scheduled to be built next year. And that's basically the centralized model that SaskPower is used to, where they have one large power plant. The issue with that for Saskatchewan is a lot of the the solar companies here are smaller. They're not as sophisticated. They're not used to bidding into what that program was, which was effectively a reverse auction. So you're building it. You're basically bidding a price for the power that you're going to sell to SaskPower for 20 years. So it's pretty sophisticated to do that. There's letters of credit, other things that are needed that a lot of companies wouldn't be able to do here. So that market is really going to Ontario, U.S. and international companies. They'll come in and they'll build a project, and it might be a 4 to 6 month project, and they'll hire 100 people. But then they leave, and then the project is done. So it's not building capacity.